Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Before we get into Collision, let's talk about AEW and how the talent once again don't listen to anybody. This time it's Stevie Richards, who apparently has talking to a couple of agents, or at least an agent in AEW, and he's going to give us a little bit of a report. So he's on the Cafe de Rene podcast. We're going to play some audio from that, and I'm going to stop it every once in a while to give my thoughts.
They're collecting.
Was done, Steven.
No shit.
Yeah. I got
Tell me this.
What's that?
Okay.
I'm not going to say who it is, but it was more than one, and there's not a ton of them, so you can guess. What they had said to me.
I'm pretty sure it was Jerry Lynn. How much you want to bet it was Jerry Lynn? Pretty sure it was Jerry Lynn who probably talked to Stevie Richards. Something just in my soul and my bones is saying that it was Jerry Lynn. So,
and that's what I loved about it. The conversations were two men say, "Hey, call me. I want to talk. I want to clear the air about this." I make the call. We talk. It was literally maybe the first minute or two pleasantries. How are you doing? And I was like, "Okay, what's up? I know we got to talk this out and see. Tell me where I was wrong. Tell me where I was right." Okay, you were wrong in saying that the blame is on the agents or the producers. We try to tell these kids what to do and how to be safe. They don't listen. They can't be coached. And then went on for about 10 to 20 minutes of telling me how I had no idea how right I was with the video.
All right. So for those of you who might be a little behind, Stevie Richards did a video on a dangerous spot that was done in AEW, and his video was taken down by AEW. They took the video down. So apparently after that, somebody, agent, called him to clear the air about, it's not our fault that the kids are so reckless these days, that they don't listen. Now, of course, we know this. We've been following this for a long time now. In 2020, JR made the initial comment about how kids in AEW don't listen. Billy Gunn corroborated that in 2022 by saying that not only do these kids not listen, they don't even ask for advice. And then they don't want criticism. And then we saw Hangman Page say he don't take advice. We saw the Young Bucks say they don't take advice. We see Jack Perry say he don't take advice. And now we see wrestlers just continuously getting injured. I mean, on the Rampage that preceded this episode of Collision, so that would be like the ninth, El Hijo del Vikingo, who apparently had a literal conversation with Rey Mysterio, that Rey Mysterio talked about on a podcast or something like that Vikingo needs to chill. He spiked himself on doing a tope suicida on the announce desk, ran his own head into the announce desk. It's been all over Twitter. I'm pretty sure you've seen it by now. And if you haven't seen it, just go to Twitter. I'm pretty sure if you look it up, you can find it very easily. So not only do they not listen to their own coaches, they don't listen to their own agents, they don't listen to wrestling legends, they don't listen to anybody. They're treating this thing like it's a demolition derby, except for we're talking about their own bodies here. It's rather hilarious, but it's actually quite sad. But we're going to let Stevie Richards finish his thought, and then I'm going to tell you what's so sad about this.
So they're collecting checks, and who can blame them? And for everybody out there, I don't want AEW to go out of business. I don't care about Tony Khan. I don't care about his dad or any of that. They'll have money. I care about the people that have paid their dues and are producers back there. I care about the wrestlers and their safety, but I care about the people I know that are agents and producers in the company. I want them to get paid for as long as possible. So people want me to think, or I wish AEW to go out of business. No, but I wish them to keep shaking the pockets of the money mark and get their checks. Yeah.
No, listen.
All right, we're going to cut off Renee because I don't care what he has to say. What is the point of hiring agents and producers if you're not going to use them? If the talent don't use the information that you're purchasing, like the reason you're hiring these people is because they have information. It's because they have knowledge, insider knowledge. Some of these guys have been doing this stuff a long time. And if folks are not going to give them the respect of listening to them, what do you have these people for? Is it just to have them? That's the sad part, is to sit there and be completely neutered as an authority figure. Because agents that's what their job is. They're authority figures, to help produce the show, to help talent develop. And they're completely neutered because Tony does not force the talent to listen to the agents. The agents have no look. In WWE, to a degree, the agents, the writers, the producers, they've got too much control. Sometimes one or two of those guys can sink your career. I know it. There have been people who have gotten into arguments with writers, and that was the end of them. I get it. It sucks. But in AEW, you have the opposite. Where now you have guys who are money drawing guys or guys that you want to draw some money. And they just have this attitude of, I'm going to do my own thing. The old Miles Morales, I'm going to do my own thing. And how many of these guys are either not over and not selling merchandise, or they're injured? Your buildings are empty. I'm going to do my own thing. And what's the outcome? And whose fault is this? At the end of the day, we all know whose fault it is. It's Tony Khan's fault. Tony Khan hiring these agents and these producers and then making them dickless males. They're eunuchs. What is the purpose of these folks if you don't force the talent to listen? I don't know. It seems very strange to me. It's setting such a terrible example. And I get it that a lot of these wrestlers have come from the independents where that stuff is kind of loose. There's not a lot of agents and not a lot of people walking around asking you, when do you plan to do what spot, and, how to work the cameras and all that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of those people. And I get it, in WWE, there's probably too many of those people. But there has to be a happy medium, right? Can we stop the young luchadors from spiking themselves on the announce desk? Is it possible we can stop guys from getting hurt? Can we do something about this? Can we empower the agents and producers to pull talent who are being dickheads, and then, hey, maybe find somebody else who isn't a dickhead and push him or her? I don't get it. The hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars from Tony Khan is being spent on agents and producers that have no authority and no power. It literally does not make sense to me to have those people if you're not going to use them. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think. It only matters what Tony Khan thinks. I saw a tweet that I thought was very interesting. It was an MJF tweet. And MJF posted a picture of himself and several other young wrestlers and said basically that it's the freshman XXL cover, or basically the AEW version. And it's starting from left to right. It's Commander, Darius Martin, or the Dante Martin. Which one is the light-skinned one? I don't know. Hook, Isaiah Cassidy, MJF himself, Daniel Garcia, Nick Wayne, that guy from Aussie Open, which his name is Kyle Fletcher, Wheeler Yuta, and El Hijo del Vikingo. And then a fan asked the question, what AEW wrestler was I exposed to through AEW first, and now that I really like? And I decided to answer, instead of answering on Twitter, I'm going to answer this question in a video, because I want other people to respond to this too, and I feel like I'm shadow banned on Twitter. I don't know. In any event, it would be nobody on this list, because I've seen everybody on here either somewhere before, or I'm not a fan. Like, I saw MJF first in MLW, so I already knew he was good. I already knew he had talent. I seen El Hijo del Vikingo in AAA before I saw him in AEW. The rest of these guys, I've either never seen before they came to AEW, or I just don't care about them. So my answer to this question would really be Powerhouse Hobbs, who is the one guy that I never saw anywhere else before seeing him in AEW, and was a fan. Even when it comes to a guy like Ricky Starks, I've seen him in NWA before. I also saw him in some other places too. So he didn't really get introduced to me through AEW. but Powerhouse Hobbs did, and he's pretty much the only one. Now, Wardlow would also be on that list because I didn't see much of him. I don't think I ever seen him at all until I saw him on AEW. But he's nobody that they actually are pushing. On the women's side, I don't know what the answer would be. I've seen Toni Storm. I saw her in Stardom before she came to NXT. I was a big fan of her in NXT UK and in NXT. Hikaru Shida, I guess, would be on the list because I do actually like Shida, and I never saw her in Japan. But, she might actually be the only one. I've seen Britt Baker on the Indies, and I saw her, do a job on NXT. I've seen Thunder Rosa. I know Thunder Rosa from NWA. I also saw her in the Indies. Jade Cargill will be a good option for, a young wrestler, even though I'm not sure how old she is, that I was introduced to through AEW first and became a fan of, even though I'm mostly a fan of her presentation, not exactly her matches, but I'm a huge fan of her look and how she presents herself and her charisma. I mean, she's top notch in that. Nobody can deny that. Even if you think she can't work worth a damn, she looks great. She looks phenomenal, and she can talk. So all of this is coming out because Dave Meltzer has been making a big stink about how old the AEW roster is. And now we see that there's supposed to be this new push towards youth again. And MJF is trying to lead this push, this whole thing about talent over tenure. And now he's trying to get everybody excited for all the guys of the future. And how many pump fakes are you going to end up falling for? I'm not falling for this pump fake. They've been pump faking us since 2019. It was Private Party. It was Sonny Kiss. It was Sammy Guevara. It was all these different people that they're one hit away, from being a top guy. And then a hit never came. Or they got hit with a ceiling and weren't allowed to go anywhere. Or somebody finally gets some momentum and then very, very, very conservative booking. Put a limit on their career. That would be Hook. I mean, Hook used to be super over. You remember that? He used to be, they was comparing Hook to like various guys on NXT at one point. There was even an article back when, I forget what his name is, with the kid that looked like Brock Lesnar. Everybody thought that he was the big stud that's going to come out of NXT, and they were talking about how AEW does so much better booking young talent, because look how Hook, he's so over. But look at Hook now. This was a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe. And look at Hook now. He's still on the roster. He barely is more over than he was then. As a matter of fact, he's substantially less over. And that's due mostly to the conservative booking. They have put a cap on where these young guys can go. I know it's very frustrating because Ricky Starks has been going through the same thing. The guy's tremendous. But they won't let him break out. And the ironic thing is, he put out this freshman thing, and none of these people are fresh. Most of these people have been around for a while. Of the people I listed, Commander is fairly new. He came out this year. But the Martin twins, Top Flight, they've been around for 3 years. Hook has been around for 2 or 3 years. Private Party has been around for 4 years. Daniel Garcia has been around for like 2 years. Nick Wayne is fairly new. Aussie Open has been wrestling in Japan for quite a while. Hilda Vikingo has been around for a while too. And so has Wheeler Yuta. So it's like, okay, who's the freshman? What's the fresh meat? Who is the fresh guys that you're bringing in that are young and have ability and skill and talent and charisma, which is the most important thing. It's one thing for them to be young. It's another thing for them to be young and charismatic and have the ability to break through. And none of these people do. They might be young, but none of them have huge personalities except MJF. You have a couple of them, like Vikingo, the Top Flight, Isaiah Cassidy. In fact, many of them, tremendously athletic. Now I gotta look at it, but look at the charisma. Look at the charisma. Who finds these people engaging? And it's not about youth, it's about being engaging. You can't just push somebody because they've been around for a while. I agree with that. You can't just push somebody because they're older. I agree with that too. You can't just push somebody because they're young either. Are they engaging? And this is where the LA Knight problem really comes in, because there are so many guys like a LA Knight or a Robert Roode who never got a shot at the top, but they're in their late 30s, early 40s, but they've been suffering on the indies, they've been suffering in NXT, or they've been suffering in NWA or somewhere else, and now they're finally getting a shot, and they're taking full advantage. So that's why you're getting Eddie Kingston, who was brought in. The guy was already over the age of 35 when he was brought into AEW, but through sheer guts and performance, he became a top guy. Far more than some of the young guys that AEW wanted to push. I mean, look at how they pushed Eddie Kingston versus how they pushed Sammy Guevara. Look at how much TV time Eddie Kingston got compared to Sammy Guevara. And yet look at how more over Eddie Kingston is than Sammy Guevara. Even in storylines where Eddie Kingston was booked to look like an idiot, he will always either verbally get himself over through sheer willpower, through grit, through character. Something that the young guys don't have, and apparently they're not able to create on their own, with the exception of maybe a few of them. MJF is capable of doing it, but most of the other ones aren't. And so you start seeing a lot of these older guys are pushing past them. Eddie Kingston is the LA Knight of AEW, or I guess you could say the other way around. And the LA Knight, Eddie Kingston, that syndrome is really ripping through AEW and WWE. In so much as, even though we all want the business to move towards younger, more athletic and charismatic talent, when you have an older guy who has charisma, who can talk, who's never gotten a chance before and now he does, you really don't have any good reason other than age to take it from him. Like I make jokes about Eddie Kingston all the time, and everybody talks about how old LA Knight is. But would you rather have some of these bland Dante Martins in that position? I wouldn't. Would you rather have some of these bland, colorless NXT characters in LA Knight's position? I wouldn't. So it's impossible to say that, yes, talent over tenure, which is what MJF has been trying to push. And it seems that that's not happening because there isn't enough talent in the young talent. It's a lot of potential, but not a lot of realized potential. Now, some of them haven't really gotten much of a chance, and some of them are fairly new. But a lot of these guys have been around for a while. And AEW has a history of just basically not taking these guys seriously, or just throwing them in Ring of Honor and leaving them there. So I thought it was an interesting subject to broach. And I'm beginning to question whether Tony Khan really cares about Collision, but at the same time, it is what it is. I don't know. Collision is quite the show. It's not a good show, not a bad show. It's just a show. A lot of matches. A lot of matches if you like matches. A lot of matches announced if you like matches. Not much in the way of character or story or anything that matters on this show. But it's certainly a show you should probably watch. But you won't miss anything if you don't watch it. You feel me? Like it's in that weird gray area where it's not completely Rampage and therefore you can ignore it. But it's also not Dynamite, where if you follow the product, you should probably follow the product. Like nothing happens on this show that if you missed it, it matters. So let's get into it. Andrade El Idolo, look at me, I'm with CJ Parker. So she comes, her name is not Parker. See, who is CJ Parker? Oh, that's Juice Robinson. Bum ass, broke ass, fake macho man Juice Robinson. Oh my goodness. I forgot his name was it's CJ Perry. CJ Perry. Andrade wrestled Danny Garcia in a match that seemingly went on forever and ever, and at some point they stopped wrestling. I think this match just went on so long, I gave up, and then they gave up too. Andrade wins. Nothing matters anymore. They did this whole storyline with Daniel Garcia, where after he lost the match to MJF, he did this promo about, being the young guy. And when you're young and you're hungry and you get these opportunities, like, to be the world champion or whatever, you start thinking to yourself, you're young, you have your whole future ahead of you. But then as the roster gets more crowded, the opportunities become more sparse, and then the losses become more meaningful. And it was a really sort of important promo that I think he did, and they followed it up with him losing again to Andrade. So why should I invest any time? Look, I'm not tripping. I don't care. I don't like Daniel Garcia anyway. He also apparently didn't want to win because he took time to dance with CJ. So he didn't really want to win. The important part of this scenario is that Miro was watching Andrade hug CJ, and he starts patting the TV. Like, he's just petting the TV. Like, good boy. Like, huh? He didn't scream or rip the TV off the wall or anything like that, which is what you would expect if, some guy's hugging their wife. You would expect him to snatch the TV off the wall and break it. But no. You could tell he was unhappy, but he was mildly unhappy. Nick Wayne then defeated Dalton Castle in a match. Okay. I thought Dalton Castle was a heel because he broke the Acclaim's treasure thing, their trophy. I don't know if that was on Dynamite or Collision last week, but I'm pretty sure Dalton Castle and the boys already turned heel, and now they're back faces again. Lack of continuity. Does it really matter if they're heels or baby faces at this point? Because they're barely on the show as it is, right? So it doesn't really matter whether they're heels or baby faces, but I just think that it should be noted that Dalton Castle and the boys turned heel recently, within the last week, on television to fight the Acclaimed. And now they're baby faces here against Christian and his squad. It's where I'm supposed to feel bad about Luchasaurus chokeslamming the boys, but I don't, because not only do these people not matter, but they were just heels literally 5 minutes before this happened. Anyway, moving on. Just moving right along. Hangman Page cut a promo. Hangman Page challenged Swerve Strickland to a Texas death match. Said that when he crossed the border into his house, he made a fatal mistake. He says that, when he goes back to Swerve's house, he should look at the pictures and say that he will never be at any proms, any weddings, any funerals, or anything ever again, because Hangman's going to take him out. Then he promised that he's going to take Swerve into the abyss. Well, he's going to walk his son there one day and piss on Swerve Strickland's grave. I mean, brother, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. So, it wasn't a terrible promo, but it wasn't great either. It is what it is. La Facción Ingobernables defeated the Work Horsemen in a match that literally went on forever. This match seemed like it was so long. It was so long. House of Black then cut a promo saying that they make plans to acquire what the LFI wants so that LFI will chase them. Then they challenged Big Bill and Ricky Starks for the tag team championships. Julia Hart also challenged Willow and said if she wins, she wants a rematch against Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander and Willow cut a promo. Chris says that she doesn't trust Julia and that Willow really deserves the shot. And on the subject of Sky Blue, she doesn't have a comment. So, to continue that, Starks and Big Bill said they don't want anything to do with House of Black, FTR, or any of these other teams, and they don't accept House of Black's challenge. To which they are informed that there's going to be a fatal four-way at Full Gear, which is going to feature Starks and Big Bill versus the House of Black versus FTR. And is there another team, or is it a triple threat match? Is there another oh yeah, LFI, right? Okay. And they have to fight all of these teams. And so Ricky Starks got mad, was very upset, and said they will remain the champions. FTR cut a promo, said this is their road to their third title win. So, Fatal 4-Way. That's just as lazy as tournaments and battle royals. I promise you. You know, Fatal 4-Ways and triple threat matches, man, they're so lazy. I hate them so much. I hate them so much. Oh, Jesus. On the subject of Julia Hart and Willow Nightingale, they had a match. Julia Hart won that match with a moonsault. The size differential, with Willow being big tender heart, not being able to basically just kill Julia Hart. Look, I don't hate Julia Hart. Don't even dislike Julia Hart. Just weird decision making that Willow is the one doing the jobs here. We could have picked somebody else, right? Like, to me, Willow maybe shouldn't be the champion or be a top, but she should be protected better than she's being protected, let's say. But so Julia Hart, I guess, will get a rematch against Chris Statlander. I expect her to win that match. If she doesn't win that match, then what is all this for? I don't know. Roderick Strong defeated Darius Martin. I wasn't sure which Martin it was, but it was Darius. Roderick Strong was in a wheelchair before the match started. Then he wrestled the entire match. And then he got back in the wheelchair after the match. Tremendous work. Tremendous heel work from Roderick Strong. This was terrible because Mike Bennett punched a man in the penis for no reason. And this apparently is a gimmick that he does. I don't understand why your gimmick is that you touch other men's penises, but okay. I was told that it was stupid when Shinsuke Nakamura was, giving AJ Styles the old low blow. But apparently it's perfectly fine if it's Mike Bennett. Whatever. Darius Martin, feels bad for him. But, I think his brother destroyed his leg, so at least he's getting to work. His other brother, Action Andretti, came out there to save him, which is laughable that Action Andretti's small ass would run off Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett by himself, even if he does have a steel chair. It was pretty stupid. Tony Khan, he actually made an appearance here. It wasn't announced beforehand, which makes me question, does he really care about Collision? Because he had actually a big announcement this time. He actually really did have a big announcement this time. So, Danielson will be at Wembley in 2024. They wanted everybody to know that. 9 months from now, Bryan Danielson will still be wrestling and will find a way to wrestle at Wembley. Even if they have to drag his corpse to the ring. They have to drag him to the ring busted and broken and concussed with 1 foot, 1 eye, no teeth. He will be there. And they telling you that now. He will be in Wembley because he wasn't there last year. I don't understand why we're talking about Wembley 9 months in advance. Why are we talking about Wembley now? I don't know. Especially taking time out of the show to talk about it. Now, the real thing is that they're going to do what's called the Continental Classic. It is a round-robin tournament, 12 wrestlers, 2 leagues of 6. The finals to be held at World's End, and Bryan Danielson will be in that tournament. So, he intends to ride that racehorse right into the glue factory. He is never going to take his foot off the Danielson gas. He is just not gonna. You can't make him take his foot off the gas when it comes to Bryan Danielson. He refuses to give that man any break whatsoever. No break. Now, I don't like tournament. I like tournaments, but I don't like round robin tournaments. I know everybody running around like this is, the G1 for AEW. And, Tony Khan's been bullied into booking an AEW G1. And I'm sure this fan base is very, very happy about this. And that's fine. I don't have anything against Tony Khan doing things for his fan base. What I have something against is this just gives him an excuse to have a bunch of matches. And that's it. He gets to have a bunch of matches and book a bunch of matches. And they're just going to be matches for the sake of matches, but they're going to have a scorecard on it. So, that's it. Just more matches. I doubt he tries to put together any storyline where this stuff makes sense and it's going to be, encompass the rest of the stories on the show. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. It's going to be, probably half jobbers or half guys that don't matter, and the other half is going to be guys that are being pushed. And maybe something will come out of it, maybe it won't. But I don't trust this. It feels like, hey, Tony Khan is stealing concepts from New Japan because his fans like New Japan. So he's going to steal a concept from New Japan. Now, a lot of people have talked about, the various round robin tournaments that have happened so far, from the Bound for Glory series to the NXT Global Invitational thing. All of it's terrible. I just don't like round robin tournaments, single elimination or nothing. But I'm not against him having a tournament, but he has a tournament already. It's called the Owen Hart tournament. Matter of fact, who won the Owen Hart tournament this year? Quiz. I know who won. Who won the Owen Hart tournament this year, male and female? What did it do for their career? So he didn't tell us that the winner of this tournament gets anything. Do they get a championship trophy? Do they get a title shot? Do they get anything? I don't know. But I will say this. I'll give him some credit. At least this thing is built around a pay-per-view. In other words, at least the pay-per-view has a gimmick. And the gimmick for the pay-per-view is it's the finals of this Continental Classic. And we can pretty much put Danielson in the finals already because he was, mentioned as being the first guy in. And they're going to, again, drag his broken, beat-up corpse to that ring. No matter what the condition. They will play Final Countdown, and they will weekend at Bernie's this thing if they have to. And, okay, let's just move on. Powerhouse Hobbs defeated some Jobberino. Big Show was sitting on commentary. I hate Big Show. I hate him so much. I don't know what to do. Of course, Hobbs crushed the Jobber in a few seconds. Then Don Callis got on the microphone and said his family is the greatest family in wrestling history. Better than the Von Erichs, the Harts, the Guerreros, etc. Then said that the Big Show won the genetic jackpot with his size, but it was limited in the brain department. But said it's not too late for him to back out of this thing, so that Jericho won't get to use him, that him being Big Show, like Jericho tried to use Callis. Then Big Show didn't move. Big Show wouldn't budge on this thing. So Don Callis says, I buried 2 giants in my life, and Powerhouse Hobbs will make it a third for me. And as he goes to sick Hobbs on Big Show jumped up. Come get out, come get some. You want some? Come get some. Like, and his jowls are flopping. The bags under his eyes are like flopping back and forth. I mean, it's just all bad. He's leaning to one side, like an old tree. It's so bad, man. It's sad. It would be sad if he was like your hero. Like if he was Big Show was your favorite wrestler or something like that. Like for starters, you're retarded. Second, how do you feel right now watching this old man try to remain big and tough and all this? This was a guy who, this is the irony of this whole thing, is out of this whole AEW thing, they claim WWE both hates young guys and old guys for some reason. Like WWE treats the veterans wrong. They mistreat the veterans. That's why Mark Henry and Big Show had to come over to AEW so that, Big Show had his ego bruised because Randy Orton made him sit down. Like, I'm the giant. I can do whatever I want. Randy Orton can't make me sit down. Like, if you don't get your what kind of ego do you have after 25 years of mediocrity that you think that you should be able to bow up on Randy Orton? Man, just do your fucking job. So instead of putting over Powerhouse Hobbs, or at least just doing a stare down with him, he had to scare Hobbs away. But just by being, he's like a red panda. As long as if he raises his arms, he looks big, and then you're supposed to run away. Big Show, what a joke. God, put the kid over, for Christ's sake. He had to have Hobbs run away from him. Come on. Come on. This is stupid. Lance Archer and the Righteous were defeated by Sting, Darby Allin, and Edge. That was the main event. Because nobody cares about Rampage one damn bit. I forgot. I said Rampage. I meant Collision. Nobody cares about Collision one damn bit. Not even just an iota. They got 1 star, well 2 stars. They got Sting and Edge, but that was only in the main event. If you like the mid card guys, then there was plenty of them. Plenty of the mids. But I don't know, man. Look, what keeps Collision alive is that there are some guys that are Collision only. That's the only thing that keeps this show alive. The guys like the House of Black, saying that they don't want to wrestle on Dynamite. They would prefer to wrestle Collision only. That's the only thing that keeps this show alive. If Tony Khan was to put his foot down and says everybody has to work Dynamite, then this show would be completely and totally irrelevant. But because guys like Andrade and Miro and House of Black are on this show only, you have at least some opportunity to create something unique on this show. Unfortunately, I don't think that they do enough. And what happened to Ricky Starks being one of the top guys on this show? Remember, it was a time where he used to open the show, cut promos on the show. Like he cut a promo tonight, but it was in the context of a bunch of other stuff. A bunch of other guys cutting promos, and they were short. It used to be that Ricky Starks would come out there and own the ring for a little while. Be considered a top player on this show. But not anymore. Like if you really wanted to focus on some young guys, Collision seems like the right show for it, I know you got Ring of Honor for your, that's basically your ECW, your NXT. And I saw a lot of AEW fans running around trying to protect the honor of Ring of Honor. Oh, as long as WWE doesn't have it, it's good. Like, yeah, right. Shit garbage. Not only is it garbage, it's garbage nobody even watches. Nobody even cares about it. They only mention it when somebody major has one of the championships. And then those people don't even show up on the show. What good is MJF being the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion? He doesn't even show up on that show. He's never been on that show. But he's going to probably be on the pay-per-view, which is the only thing that Tony Khan can do is... imagine if WWE did that. Becky Lynch never stepped foot on NXT, but she's the NXT Women's Champion. She doesn't wrestle on the show, but she pops up at the pay-per-views. Then people would be like, well, she's doing something at least. Everybody would be like, why is she too good for the show? I'm mentioning this because some guy got reamed online for saying essentially what I had said maybe a week or two ago about nobody really caring about Ring of Honor. And you can tell that nobody cares about Ring of Honor because their only defense is at least WWE doesn't have it. At least it's just not a tab on the network. It's like, yeah, it's on its own dead network right now. And it's not nowhere near a priority for Tony Khan. It's something that they tape before Rampage or before Collision or something like that. They don't have their own crew. It's the same crew that tape AEW shows. The booker got fired. The guy who was booking the show got canned. A lot of the producers and shit got canned and got replaced. So everybody was like, it's giving people jobs. Like, yeah, that's the positive, I guess. But, it's not like there aren't other shit indies out there for guys to work. There's tons of indies for people to work. There's endless indies for people to work, And I don't think anybody is an ROH talent that makes any money for the company. It's all just lower card guys and then the occasional upper mid carder or even, who comes down. And maybe MJF was a main event guy. But he's been the only one. And I guess Jericho. I guess when it's time to have a pay-per-view, they'll bring a main event guy down there to defend a title. But that's it. So, Ring of Honor is a joke. Collision's a joke. Rampage is one of the worst crocks of shit ever put on television. If there's any show I want canceled, it's Rampage. Rampage is worthless. It's absolutely worthless. And I don't believe in the old just rebranded as a Ring of Honor show. He doesn't have that authority. He can barely even mention Ring of Honor outside of the championships on his television. He still has not promoted Final Battle on his television. He has not. This is the second time I've seen Final Battle pop up on the ticker at the bottom of the screen as they're talking about AEW Dynamite. They're going to be in various cities. They're going to be in Poughkeepsie, New York, and Ontario, Canada. And then you see Final Battle in buttfuck Kentucky, and they just go, oh, what a clothesline. You know, like they completely and totally ignore it. You know, get out of here with this, man. But Collision, look, it's not the worst show in the world. It's not the best. If you don't watch it, so what? You're not missing anything. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap.